Ah, the 1970s. We had rotary phones, 3 TV channels, and a chore list that felt like it was written by someone who thought kids had the upper body strength of a lumberjack. These weren't chores so much as unofficial jobs, and every kid I knew had to do them. Dusting the fake plants.
If you love beautiful houseplants, but not the time, care, and work that comes with them, let me plant the seed of thought. Unique Creations by Anne Marie.
Every 70s living room had them. Those glorious, never-wilt plastic plants that were supposed to look just like the real thing, but actually looked like something from a dentist's office. Trouble was, they didn't grow, but they sure collected dust. And who got stuck cleaning them? Us kids. You'd grab a feather duster or a rag and carefully wipe each leaf while trying not to knock over the ceramic planter that weighed more than your bicycle. Sometimes the plants were glued into a giant wicker basket, and you'd have to climb halfway over the coffee table to get to the ones in the back. By the time you were done, you smelled faintly of lemon pledge and regret. Drying the dishes. Back then, the dishwasher wasn't a machine in the kitchen, it was you. After dinner, it was one kid washing, the other drying. And drying dishes in the 70s was serious business. You couldn't just wave the towel at a plate and call it good. No, you had to really get in there, or Mom would hold it up to the light like a jeweler inspecting a diamond. Glasses had to sparkle, silverware couldn't have a single water spot, and if you put something away with a smudge, you'd hear about it. The whole time you'd be trying to get through the stack while your siblings accidentally splashed you with the dishwater. Changing the TV channel for Dad. There was no such thing as a remote control, unless you count as kids. Dad would settle into the lazy boy, crack open a can of Schaefer, and bark, "Turn it to channel 4." That meant getting up, crossing the room, and twisting the chunky dial past a blizzard of static until you hit the right station. Then you'd have to fine-tune it with the smaller inner knob so the picture stopped rolling, all while Dad stood behind you saying, "No, back a little, now forward, now back again." You'd sit down for about 2 minutes before he'd say, "Put it back on 2, the game's on." Congratulations. You were the family's living, breathing remote control, organizing Tupperware lids.
Meats keep meatier, beats keep beatier, chips keep chippier, dips keep dippier. Tupperware freshness, that's our promise. Look at all the ways we keep it.
This was the unsolvable Rubik's Cube of the kitchen. Every 70s cupboard was a chaotic avalanche of harvest gold, avocado green, and burnt orange containers, all stacked inside each other like nesting dolls. But the lids? Oh, the lids lived in their own lawless pile. Mom would hand you the job of matching them up, which was impossible because the one lid you needed was always missing and the rest didn't fit anything. Somewhere in every American basement, there's a lonely yellow lid that hasn't seen its container since 1974. And heaven help you if you put the wrong lid on the Jell-O mold. You'd be banished from Tupperware duty for life. All right, real talk. If you've made it through more of my videos than you did trips across the living room to change the TV channel for Dad, it's time to subscribe. I'll keep cranking out the retro chores and memories. You just hit that button and we'll call it even. And if you're on Facebook, come join our 70s kid reunion. We've got laughs, stories, and probably someone still trying to match the right lid to the right Tupperware. Folding towels just right. This wasn't just folding. This was a test of discipline, precision, and your ability to follow instructions to the letter. In the 70s, moms had a system for towels, and heaven help you if you didn't follow it. Was it in thirds, then in half, or half, then in thirds? Whatever it was the way, and no other way was acceptable. Some households had everyday towels and guest towels that weren't even to be touched without permission. You'd fold them perfectly, stack them in the linen closet, and then watch them sit there for months, untouched, like sacred artifacts of domestic life. Feeding the dog before dinner.
Chuck Wagon, instant dinner for dogs. The right helpings of what dogs like best.
In the 70s, feeding the dog didn't mean scooping some organic kibble from a designer bin. Oh no, it was a culinary adventure. You'd scoop out a dented can of Gaines burgers or Ken L Ration, slap it into the metal bowl, and watch it slurp out in one gelatinous lump. Sometimes you'd mix in leftover meatloaf or potatoes because nothing went to waste. The idea was to feed them before dinner so they wouldn't beg. But that was wishful thinking. The second a pork chop hit the table, That dog was underfoot, giving you the same look your little brother did when you had a popsicle, and he didn't. Washing the family car with a bucket and sponge.
When DuPont introduced Rally Cream half-hour car wax, it kicked up quite a storm.
Back in the 70s, car wash didn't mean driving through a giant set of brushes while listening to AM radio. It meant you, a bucket, a sponge, and about 3 hours of manual labor in the driveway. You'd fill the bucket with soapy water, grab an old rag that used to be a t-shirt, and get to work under the blazing sun. The sponge would inevitably soak up enough water to weigh as much as a bowling ball, and by the time you wrung it out, you'd be soaked too. And of course, no matter how carefully you worked, Dad would walk out, point to a tiny speck on the bumper and say, "Missed a spot." Bonus fun. Crouching behind the car trying not to get blasted when your sibling accidentally sprayed you with the hose. Vacuuming the shag carpet.
We started with one of the best vacuum cleaners made, Eureka, and we made it even better. We kept the proven dial-and-app rug adjustment, deep cleans everything from flat carpet to the highest shag.
Shag carpet wasn't just a floor covering. It was a lifestyle choice. The fibers were so long they could swallow small toys whole. Running the vacuum over it was like trying to mow a wheat field with a push mower. You had to go slow, back and forth, listening for the telltale thunk of the vacuum swallowing a Lego, a bobby pin, or the occasional penny. And the noise? The vacuum roared like a jet engine, making the TV inaudible and the dog hide under the couch. By the time you finished one room, you needed a Gatorade and a nap, answering the phone. In the 70s, the phone didn't tell you who was calling. It just rang, and you answered it. No screening, no caller ID, no, let it go to voicemail. You'd pick up the avocado green receiver, stretch the curly cord halfway across the kitchen, and recite the family-approved greeting like you were the receptionist for a very small, very chaotic business. "Hello, Smith residence. Who's calling, please?" If it was for you, you'd have to take the call in the kitchen while your mom pretended not to listen. Which meant she was absolutely listening. And if you took too long, someone would yell, "Wrap it up! It's long distance!" Like you were draining the family's life savings 1 minute at a time. Sharpening pencils for school. Sounds simple, right? But in the 70s, this was practically an Olympic sport. You had two choices. The little plastic sharpener that chewed the wood unevenly and broke your lead every other twist, or the giant wall-mounted crank sharpener, the one that smelled like fresh-cut lumber and sounded like it was powered by an outboard motor. Parents expected you to sharpen a whole batch of pencils before school started, which meant by the 5th or 6th one, you were sweating and your wrist was ready to give out. And if you over-sharpened, you'd get the dreaded needle point that snapped off before you even opened your notebook. So there you have it, the unofficial job description of every 70s kid. We griped, we stalled, we tried to trade chores with our siblings, but in the end, we got it done. And maybe, just maybe, that's why we can fold a towel better than anyone alive today.